Hello, hello, all my pandas and waffles. How are you doing? My name is Lord Panda Waffles. I'm an LGBTQIA+ streamer on Twitch, and welcome to the first episode of the Closeted Diaries. I was supposed to record this earlier, but I'm a hot mess, so we're winging it. Here we go. What I wanted to do with this series is to highlight the experiences of other LGBTQIA+ individuals and allow them to tell their stories firsthand. I feel that with the media, which I will be discussing later, they tend to put what I call an inspiration porn twist on everything. Either a struggle is over-exaggerated or just misinterpreted, and follows very common tropes that I don't think represent us correctly. We are all individual people with our individual experiences, and I think it's important to highlight that idea. And even two people who might identify with the same sexuality or have the same gender identity might see the same issue in two very different ways because of those different experiences, which is why I want to try and highlight these stories, try to get the information out there, and hopefully make a more inclusive world overall. So in the future, I would like to talk to people from all different kinds of backgrounds, all around the world, from across different sexualities, and all around the gender spectrum. The next episode is most likely going to be about bisexuality, and then I would like to talk to someone who identifies as non-binary. That is the current plan. Then, in the future, I'm looking at some experts to talk about historical events, like the Stonewall riots, and how the word queer has changed over time, and how that's impacted the community, as well as talking about homosexuality and drag within mythology. But that is all pending, and we're working on that. However, it doesn't feel right to start a series talking about other people's stories without talking about my own. I've never told my coming out story as detailed and as intimately as I'm going to now, so if you're watching this will be the first time that any of you have ever heard the story in this much detail. This is my coming out story. I came out of the closet as gay in 2016. It would have been officially around March, I believe. So I came out in high school. It was during my sophomore year. I do remember it was with my ex, and I, up until that point, didn't identify as gay. I didn't think I was gay. As far as I knew, I liked women. I actually had a crush on a girl, and I'd written her a poem. I'm actually very close to her now. I'd written her a poem and everything. I did actually try asking her out. That didn't end well. But up until that point, I told myself that I wasn't gay. And even though I was having these kinds of thoughts about men as I thought I was about women, I just assumed from everything that I had heard that was normal, and that everyone has these thoughts, and that they would just go away, and I just needed to find a woman that I loved, and then I would feel normal. So then my ex ended up asking me out, and I had said yes. I went home, I was excited, and I told my mom about it. And very reasonably, she goes, "Are you sure that you're feeling what you're feeling? Like, are you sure that you're gay? Or does he just make you feel a special kind of way because he asked you out? And maybe you don't really just like him, you just thought that someone likes you." Which is completely valid. And I hadn't thought about that yet. So 3 days later, as I was thinking about that, I had broken up with my ex. Because I just wasn't sure, and I didn't want to lead him on. That was a whole event that we made fun of for a while. But 2 weeks after that, he did end up asking me out again, and it felt like the right thing to do. So I went out with him again. And I was hiding it, because I was not ready to say that I was gay. I was still within that whole first month, very unsure about how I felt. I was still exploring my own feelings about it and what was going on in my life. And I just didn't know what to do with it. Like, was I actually gay? I'm enjoying myself and I'm dating a guy. Does this mean I'm not straight anymore? And so I hid it, quotation marks, hid it, for about a month. Yeah, most people knew I was gay without me actually having to come out to them. I actually have another streamer friend who will adamantly tell you he knew I was gay by the 6th grade. And he told everyone that I was gay because, like, he just knew. And I had friends who adamantly defended me throughout high school, saying, don't bully him, he's not gay. Yeah, they were a little unhappy about that when I did come out. But the month passes, and it was our 1 month anniversary, and I had gotten a teddy bear from what's now my ex. That was a little harder to hide than everything else. I went to high school with my older sisters. At this time, there was only one of them, and she saw. Now, normally this would be a problem. You know, she's very accepting of it and all, except I was lying to her up until this point. I was lying to most people. I'd come out to my very closest friends in the sense that I said, yes, I'm going out with this guy. But I didn't come out and say, yes, I'm gay, because I was still very unsure. So when we were on the bus, she's like, what's that teddy bear? I'm like, oh, this is, for me and my boyfriend's 1 month anniversary. Which, when you lie to your sister for a straight month that you're not dating anybody, yeah, that doesn't make them very happy. So, in my head, as I'm battling all these emotions over the past month of whether or not I'm gay and whether or not this is the right thing to do, I just outed myself. And it was not the way I wanted to do it. I was still trying to prepare how I wanted to come out to my family. And I wanted to, like, sit everyone down and do the dramatic, I hope you still love me after this, but, you know, I'm into guys. That's not how it happened. It was not the perfect story. So my sister gets reasonably mad. We go fighting the whole way home on the bus. It's more of a silent treatment. On the walk, though, we tore into each other, back and forth. You lied to me. No, I didn't. I was hiding it, back and forth. So when we bust open the front door at my house, my mom comes downstairs. She's like, what the fuck's going on? Why are you fighting? And my sister goes, Lord Panda Waffles is gay. Clearly not that, 'cause it's not my real name. But that's how my mom found out. Which, again, was not the way I wanted it to happen. But I kind of ran into the kitchen and cried a bit. Because everything just felt wrong. Everything was falling apart. The secret that I had, that I still wasn't sure about, was now out to what felt like my entire world. And I didn't know how to put into words that I still wasn't even sure myself. So after calming my sister down, she comes to the kitchen and is like, what is your sister talking about? And I start to tell her the story. I tell her about all that. And, you know, yes, it's the same guy. And, like, I still don't know. But yeah, I've been going out with him for a month now. And he makes me happy. So she goes, so are you gay? I'm like, I think so. I guess, yeah. And all she was very happy. You know, I finally got to come out, get off my chest. But she goes, you do know you need to tell the rest of the family, right? I'm like, do I really have to? Unfortunately, yeah, I kind of do. We're a very close-knit family. It's not something I can just hide from them. So I sat in the living room on our chair, just waiting for my sister and my dad to come home. I was absolutely horrified. I didn't know what I was going to say. I was not prepared for this. I only had a couple of hours to get ready, whatever sentences I wanted to say to justify everything that just happened in my life. So my sister comes home. Other sister. I have 2 older sisters. So the eldest comes home from work. And she's like, oh, hi. I'm like, how's your day? She's like, oh, it's good. What's that teddy bear? And I'm like, well, I have a boyfriend, and it was our 1 month anniversary. And she goes, oh, you have a boyfriend? I'm like, yeah. And she was perfectly fine with it. Very happy about that. That went over better than I thought it would. Then my dad comes home. This is the part I was terrified for the most. Now, my dad is a very kind person. He's very helpful. I couldn't be where I am today without my dad. That being said, there was the fear that he wouldn't accept me. He's stereotypically redneck in some ways more than others. He's not overtly religious. He's not against my specific groups of people, but I was worried he would be upset that I was gay. And I wasn't sure how he'd feel about it. I wasn't masculine anymore. He wouldn't have grandkids, that whole shebang. I was scared. I remember him coming home, about the same conversation, and he's like, what's the bear? So I told him, I'm like, so I have a boyfriend, and it was our 1 month anniversary today. I see something in his eyes. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I still vividly remember that look, and I don't think that's one I can forget. There's almost a fire, and then it was gone. Like his soul had left his body. I remember him looking at me for a second in silence, never taking his boots off. Excuse me. He went downstairs into the cellar, and he didn't come back up for the rest of the day. There was the sound of tools slamming, being thrown around a bit, and that night I cried, because I didn't know what was going to happen now. Was I going to be hated by my dad forever? Did my family really accept me, or were they just saying that? That experience was arguably one of the hardest in my life. Now, I can say for a fact I am very lucky compared to many people. My family was very accepting of me coming out. There wasn't really any hardcore pushing against it. They didn't try to tell me I wasn't gay, or that I shouldn't be gay. Whether or not they fully agreed with it was still a question for a while, but they at least had enough support so they'd be like, okay, you're gay, we're happy for you. And many people don't have that, so I do recognize that I had that privilege. But that was a tough experience for me. And now, as time has moved on, I think, especially my dad, has come a long way in accepting that this is who I am. There was a lot of questionable jokes and banter, and whether or not I really was gay, or whether it was a phase at first, and some of it wasn't intentional. I think some of it was very subtle and implicit. But I have been accepted by most of my friends and the people I know. I've been accepted very positively, and I'm very thankful for that. I couldn't have made it as far as I have without that. And now I feel much better about coming out about my sexuality, and I don't feel like I have to hide it from people. People tend to assume I'm gay because of the pitch of my voice, or because I act somewhat effeminately, but now I am not as scared to say, yes, I'm gay. I can say and feel proud that I'm gay. I can say it and not have to worry about what other people think about me, which many people don't get that ability. And I want to try and create that supportive environment that they can have, that, broken, to create that environment that they don't necessarily get to have in their own lives. I think that's just about my coming out story. If you do have any questions, feel free to message me in the Discord, or you can leave them in the comments, and I will address them as they come up. But we are not done yet. I do want to talk about a couple more things, such as representation in the media. I think that's a very important topic that's going to come up a lot in this series. Excuse me. So there's a lot of controversy around representing LGBTQIA plus individuals in the media. Some people say that we are, as a community, LGBT plus community, for conciseness, are trying to push an agenda. We are trying to make everyone else gay. We are trying to force our wrong views upon everybody. in this mass conspiracy where we're putting it in the tap water to make the frogs gay. Alex Jones. No. When you look at Disney movies, for example, Disney movies are supposed to be the movies that children look up and idolize. These are the heroes that you look at when you're a little kid and you say, I want to be like that person. The American Girl dolls are supposed to be there to represent little girls. And so you want them to look like you, because then you feel like you're represented. You feel like, oh, I can be something because this person or this doll was something. That's what representation is about. It's not about pushing some agenda to make everyone gay. It's not about trying to wipe out the straights. It's not about trying to take down organized religion. It's about wanting to feel like we are people and like we exist. Throughout history, LGBTQIA plus people, gays, lesbians, trans, genderqueer, gender fluid, we've all felt some kind of discrimination and some kind of oppression at some way or scale. In most modern times, it's much more subtle. It's not so outright as slavery or the Holocaust was, but we feel these very tiny, they're called microaggressions, but that term doesn't always go over well. These subtle discriminations where you just don't get represented in the media. So it's almost dehumanizing. Like, we don't exist, like we're our own characters. Like, we don't exist in a universe. And if you put one gay character in a show, suddenly that's too much, because gay people don't exist, except in the occasional fiction. When in real life, every one in a couple people is somewhere part of the community, to some extent. They could be lesbian, they could be transgender, they could be non-binary, they could just be bi-curious. And all of those things are okay, and we exist. And so, I remember when I was growing up, I would watch shows, and I'd get really excited when there happened to be a gay character. It wouldn't matter if it was a cartoon, or if it was a reality show. So I would watch Chopped, which is a cooking TV show. You pull ingredients out of the basket. Point is, you're watching Chopped, and one of the contestants would say, and my husband, or my partner, which 9 times out of 10 is subtlety for the homosexual partner. And you'd be like, oh, my partner, and I'd see their husband, and I'd get really excited, and I didn't know why. And looking back on that, I was just really excited to see that there was other gay people that were actually doing well in life, and that we could do things. I could do whatever I wanted to, despite the fact that I was openly gay. Like, I didn't have to hide it. I could be openly gay and still be successful, and that means the world. And then you have more modern shows, like Adventure Time, for example. The relationship they portray between Marceline and Princess Bubblegum, some might argue is platonic, but first of all, they kiss, so it's canon. But they don't overemphasize the fact that they're gay. They just make it very platonic. It's very romantic. It's very strong friendship between them. Even Steven Universe, I think, covers it very well, where they use intentional pronouns. Most fusions being between women are still referred to as she, her, but they also depict lesbian relationships. And in very specific fusions, they intentionally use they, them pronouns when two people fuse. Which I think is a very important distinction and good representation of a non-binary character, who is canonical and not just an add-on. In a previous stream I'd done for art, we were talking about non-binary characters in the anime Soul Eater. They were not officially written in as non-binary, but the implication was there because pronouns were never used for that character. Chrono was always referred to as Chrono. You never heard he or him, you never heard she or her. They were drawn very androgynously. And in the most recent translation of the manga, they are canonically non-binary. And I think that kind of representation is important. I think it needs to be normalized to have people from the community in media because we exist. And some might argue, well, if sexuality is not that important, then why does it matter if the character's gay or not? And to that point, I argue, if it's not that important, just include the character. Because it means the world to me, and I think it means the world to a lot of us, to see our kind of representation in the media. But if you see a gay couple in your TV show, it's not hurting you. It's not ruining the story. You don't have to go out of your way to write a gay character. But putting them in there will make the world of a difference to at least one person. And I think that's important to see. But that also leads to my problem with representation. Now, some of you might disagree with me on this, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. I watched, I believe it was the first half of Love Simon. I didn't like it. I felt, now granted I don't really like romance movies in general, I've warmed up to them more so. I think that the representation was very stereotypical. I think that especially when you have gay, like, first of all, we're going to talk about the fact that when you hear LGBTQIA plus representation, the first thing everyone thinks of is gay couple, lesbian couple. Those are the first two letters of an entire alphabet of a community. What's that, at least LGBTQI? So there's at least 7 letters. We're adding more as necessary to include as many people as possible to create an environment where people are comfortable expressing themselves as they are. You can't represent that with 2 letters in the same way that you can't spell most words in English language with 2 letters. You can pick any 2 you want, but you still need all of them. And so when you have these lesbian and gay couples that tend to have the same tropes, the gay couple, I'm just your average teen boy who's your stereotypically hot teenage white boy, probably on some kind of sports team, accepted by his mother, rejected by his father, has a crush on high school jock, is afraid to come out because of what his friends think. You have one token female character who supports him along the journey, and then he really likes his best friend. And that's who he ends up with in the end. But that's his one secret, was that he's gay. And just no one happened to know. And there's so many more diverse stories than that. And there's so many things you can do with that, but that's the one they just keep recycling over and over. And then there's a lot of stereotypes around gay people that get recycled, which I'm going to talk about in a minute during our myths section. And then with lesbian relationships, I feel like it's often underplayed. I think homosexuality for gay men is overplayed in media, where it's exaggerated how afraid we are to come out and how we act around it. But then lesbians are underplayed in the sense that I don't think they're depicted as frequently as they should be. When they are, I feel like it's often fetishized, when it should be more romantic and platonic, like I mentioned in Adventure Time. They don't make an explicit sexual relationship between Marceline and Princess Bubblegum, but they actually show a romance in it. And they show an emotional bond. But people are so willing to fetishize lesbian couples. And I think that's just horrible. I've literally heard people say, I'm fine with gay people, I watch lesbian porn. That's not how this works. First of all, if you want to accept lesbians, you have to accept everyone else too, because we are all part of the same community. You can't like the lesbians, not like the gays. That's not how this works. You can't accept one, not the other. Now, if you want to get turned on by a lesbian and not by a gay guy, that's a whole different conversation. But we're not talking about what gets your gears going. In terms of acceptance, if you like and accept one, you gotta accept the rest. And I don't think lesbians are truly accepted in the way that they need to be. And they'll often show these relationships as, like I said, hypersexualized. Or they make it a phase where oh, she's not really lesbian. She just didn't find the right man yet. She just needed a baby in her life. But that's not how that works. And that will also come in a future discussion of just women in general, especially if they're shown as asexual, just needing a baby in their life. They just didn't find the right guy. No, some people just don't want a little crotch goblin. Some people don't want a thing coming out from between their legs. Some people are happy like that, and those stories should be told equally, because those people exist and deserve their stories told. But all of this collectively revolves around myths in the community. Now, I personally can only truly speak to myths about gays, because I myself am gay, and do not have the personal experience to talk about the discrimination and myths that go behind bisexuality, being a lesbian, genderqueer, gender fluid, non-binary, being transgender, which is why I hope to get other people in this series to talk about those things. I don't have that first-hand experience. Some myths that I would like to dispel about gays include: if you are an effeminate man, you are gay. No. First of all, there are entire categories of gay lexicon that cover masculine gay men. Some of these are more sexual terms, like top, or top verse, and things like that. There's very strict lexicons that go to identifying more masculine ones, so to speak. Because you can be effeminate and be a top, you can be effeminate and be a top verse. But there is a general stereotypical consensus around these terms. But there are also some terms just for physical characteristics, like if you are a larger man and covered in a lot of hair, you're called a bear. If you're a smaller man and you're generally hairy, you're called an otter. And there are a lot of these terms used to describe each other, partially because we weren't allowed to be openly gay in public, so it allowed us to identify who was who. But at the same time, like I said, you can be effeminate and not gay. You can enjoy painting your nails, and maybe you like a purse, maybe you like walking in heels. That doesn't make you gay. The only thing that makes you gay is if you like men sexually or romantically. If you like men romantically and or sexually, that makes you gay. Everything else does not make you gay. You can experiment with it. You can go out and have sex with a man. But if that's not your thing, you did it once, you stay with women, you say, I do not enjoy having sex with men. You're not gay. You had a gay experience, but you're not gay. Another myth we're going to tackle today is that gay men like everybody. Whenever I hear stories about people coming out, and this actually happened to me a few times in high school, is when you come out to someone, they go, wait, do you like me? No, see, I have this thing called standards, and I'm not willing to just have sex with anything with legs. Just because someone is gay doesn't mean they're horny for everything. This stereotype, personally, I feel like was perpetuated a lot during the AIDS epidemic, which did largely get blamed on the gay community. And gay people as a whole, statistically, will not use protection as much as a straight couple. That much is true. However, this mixed with the timing of the AIDS epidemic led to a perpetuating stereotype that we basically just have unprotected sex all the time with everyone without a care. But that's not true. We do have types, just like straight people do. We do like some things over other things. Some of us just don't like sex, and that's okay. And the idea that we're just willing to just go out and have sex with everyone just feels so demeaning at times, because people tend to use that as a weapon. And they think your horniness is some kind of bad thing, which, first of all, if you do want to go have sex with everyone, more power to you. But if you don't, that's fine. It shouldn't be weaponized. The idea that, it just bothers me. Gay people don't just like everyone. That's not a thing. Let's just outright say it, it's not a thing. Not all gay men are effeminate. Some of them are the most masculine people you ever meet. We don't just like everyone and everything. That's also not a thing. And then there's the very subtle stereotypes that end up more in social norms, like we have great taste in fashion, and we're really good at like mixing drinks, and all we know is interior design. Now granted, the people on Queer Eye know what they're doing. They got taste. But that's not everybody. Me, for example, I have no fashion sense. If I care to, yeah, I could probably pick out a cute outfit. I'm lazy as shit. I don't want to pick out an outfit. I don't want to match. I went out today in a huggle and some sweatpants. The Pink Floyd sweatpants. Like, I don't want to match. Every gay person, just like every human, has different strengths and different weaknesses. You cannot say, oh, well, this gay guy was good at this, so we're all good at this, because we are people. We are all good at different things, we are all bad at different things, because we are shaped by our experiences. If I did not happen to cover any of the myths that you wanted me to regarding homosexuality, because I'm kind of rambling now, you can also let me know in the comments, and I would like to address those as well, because that's really what I want to do, is I want to have an informative, it's almost like a podcast, a little YouTube series, just talking about these things. I just want to get the information out there from the horse's mouth. The last thing in my script was a comparison to femininity. I think I talked about that, where... Let me talk about a different point of that, actually. Another thing I don't like, just about femininity in general. What does it mean to be feminine? What does it mean to be masculine? Femininity is associated with women. Masculinity is associated with men. But if you take away the differences between men and women, there's nothing there. There's no point in having these terms. Oh, heels are for women because they're feminine. Well, what makes them feminine? Because they're for women. It's a cyclic example. It just keeps going back and forth. But what if men started wearing heels again? Because they were originally designed for men. What would happen? Okay, so now men are wearing heels. But they're designed for women. But why are they designed for what? They're not. So it doesn't matter. So now they're no longer feminine. And the word feminine doesn't matter anymore. If women start wearing pants with pockets, or they start wearing suits, oh, well, that was designed for men. But what difference does it make if a woman wears it? It doesn't. Because masculine and feminine don't matter. Being a mechanic is not a masculine thing. That is a job where you fix machines. Being a secretary or nurse is not a feminine thing. You do secretarial duties, or you're physically helping people. There's nothing masculine or feminine about these things. Makeup is not a feminine thing. Makeup makes you feel pretty and makes you look more rainbow depending on your color palette. There is no such thing as masculinity and femininity. And while, yes, I do describe myself as an effeminate man, I don't agree with masculinity and femininity. I use these terms because that is what's most accepted right now and helps people to understand. But that doesn't mean I agree with them. If we abolish the term masculine and feminine tomorrow, the world would not change. We might be a better world. We'd probably include a couple more people and be happier overall. But nothing would actually change. I think that just about concludes everything that I wanted to say. Thank you all for stopping by and watching this video. I hope to post another episode of this soon. Be sure to like and comment if you did like this video. Join the Discord to get more updates about things that are happening. If you have any questions for me, you can message me in the Discord, or you can comment on this video and I'll get back to you on that. Aside from that, please have a wonderful day.